Don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did.
I suppose that if you were to blow $1.5 billion and end up in debt by 20 million, maybe it would be smart for you to apologize to your staffers and your campaign team, which is what Kamala Harris did today. They published a video of her speaking to her staffers, her team, low energy. In fact, she looked intoxicated to me. That's my own personal opinion. I'll let you judge the video. But if you think we've seen the worst from Kamala Harris, this has to be at the top of the list. So without further ado, let's hear what she had to say.
But I am proud of the race we ran. And your role in this was critical. What we did in 107 days was unprecedented. Think about the coalition that we built, and we were so intentional about that. You would hear me talk about it all the time. Being a daughter of parents who are active in the civil rights movement, I know and believe that the best movements that are about progress in our country mean that it's leaders that we are dedicated to the coalition, to bringing people together that seemingly have nothing in common, but have everything in common. Because of your efforts, get this, we raised an historic $1.4 billion, almost $1.5 billion from grassroots supporters alone, the most in presidential campaign history. Nearly 8 million donors contributed an average donation of about $56 to fuel our people-powered campaign.
Okay, so let's just point out the obvious really quick, right? I mean, she looks faded, okay? She looks like she crawled out of a cave after being in there for 2 weeks and drinking her life to death. I mean, that's exactly what she looks like. That's number one. But number two, more importantly, if this is supposed to be an apology and you're supposed to be speaking to your staff and motivating them to move forward with optimism, maybe show up with higher energy. Maybe show up like you're energetic, like you've been in a positive state. You don't look that way. You don't sound that way either. In fact, tell me why you sound like you're reading from a teleprompter again. Make that make sense, right? You'd think it would be coming from the heart. No, it's coming from a sheet of paper, I guess, right? But what about the person who ran her campaign? What did she have to say?
I would say, I mean, look, I am not media hater by any measure. And I think that, you know, we women don't get far in life talking about double standards. So that's not the point. But I do think a narrative, 107 days, 2 weeks fucked up because of a hurricane, 2 weeks talking about how she didn't do interviews, which, you know, she was doing plenty, but we were doing in our own way. We had to, you know, be the nominee, had to find a running mate and do a rollout. I mean, there was all these things that you kind of want to factor in, but real people heard in some way that we were not going to have interviews, which was both not true and also so counter to any kind of standard that was put on Trump that I think that was a problem. And then on top of that, we would do an interview, and to Stephanie's point, the questions were small and processy and about like
dumb.
They were not informing a voter who was trying to listen to learn more.
So that is just a bunch of bull. We know that. The issue is not even the interviews. The issue is that when she was in an interview, she wasn't really there. Her body was there, but her mind was not there. And you're stating that the questions that were asked were dumb? No, she gave dumb answers. That was her problem, okay? It's not our fault that she failed to articulate a clear vision and message to the American people. And an example of how incompetent she was, she didn't even go on Joe Rogan. She should have took the risk. But here's what they had to say about that.
Should Kamala Harris have gone on Rogan? Can you just, not to be tedious about it, could you talk a little bit about how close she came to doing it, why it didn't happen?
Yeah, there's a lot of intrigue around this, a lot of theories. It's pretty simple. We wanted to do it. I hate to repeat this over and over, but it was a very short race with a limited number of days. And for a candidate to leave the battleground to go to Houston, which is a day off the playing field in the battleground, getting that timing right is really important.
I'm calling bull again. because Trump did 4 rallies in one day. He did the Joe Rogan podcast for 3 hours, didn't even use the restroom, left, got on a plane, and went to his rally. So when she's using the excuse of time, nobody is buying that. No wonder she lost this election, because people like her are running her campaign. They take zero responsibility. They don't think they are the problem. In fact, they think the media is the problem. They think you and me are the problem. They don't see themselves as the problem. They're just too smart for their own good. They can't get out of their own way, essentially. And maybe that's why they pushed Joe Rogan away from the Democratic Party. And he did have something to say about that. Listen to this.
You pay people, it's not going to have the same impact. Yeah. You know, I think these Call Her Daddy shows and all these different shows that she went on, I mean, I'm sure they had an impact. Yeah. But I think that in the future, I'm sure they're scrambling to try to create their own version of this show. Right. This is one thing that keeps coming up, like we need our own Joe Rogan. Right. But they had me.
Well, number one, they had you. Number one, they had you. They had you and they drove you away. Is that number one? But they also have, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN.
Right, but that doesn't work anymore. That's like, like you're using smoke signals and everybody else has a cell phone.
Yeah, that's right.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's just, it's a bizarre time. It's really interesting.
Okay, so Joe Rogan is dead on, just like Elon Musk, just like Tucker Carlson. You are the media now, right? People have shifted the demand from legacy media to independent creators, podcasters. Joe Rogan has more viewers and got more views with that Donald Trump podcast, 50 million the last time I seen it, than any other CNN, ABC, Fox News, all of them combined. What is the point of them in a presidential race? I don't see the purpose anymore. Now, her senior advisor, he's also in denial too. And he had a few choice words about the campaign and what he believes actually went wrong. And it's not what you think. Check this out.
We were in a challenging political environment where to get to 50% of the vote in enough states to win 270 electoral votes, we needed some percentage of Republicans. But I think what people forget is it's more the independents who act like Republicans, where issues of democracy, of how unhinged he is, Project 2025 mattered to them. Even to some conservative Democrats. Also, when you're being attacked as being a crazy out-of-touch California liberal, when you have generals and former Republican elected officials saying, I'm for Kamala Harris, that helps rebut that. In many respects, that'll be more effective than what she would say herself. And then as it relates to the comments about, wanting generals like Hitler, that bothered voters, okay? This is something that concerned them about, okay, he seems like he's lost a step. He seems a little more unhinged, unstable. The people who worked for him last time are warning us. And now he says something like this. So, yeah, we could have decided to ignore that and just say, let's talk about tax cuts today. I don't think that would have advanced the ball with the people we needed to advance it with. And again, I just want to, it can sound like making excuses. This political environment sucked. Okay, so David, let me give you some advice, right? I don't run campaigns, but I do have common sense. Common sense would say that going out there and telling people that Trump is Hitler when this is the United States of America probably is not a message that really is going to last and be effective. It's not a message that truly runs deep. There really isn't any data points to support that statement, but you guys ran with it anyway. That's part number one. Part number two, instead of focusing so much on Trump, because when you give him all that attention, his popularity grows. What you guys should have been doing is giving attention to what you were going to do for Americans. But hey, here's the other problem with that. You claim that that was your guys' message. The problem is the candidate was terrible at communicating that message. So regardless of what you would have done, I don't think it would have mattered, because the biggest problem in this entire equation is not the Joe Rogan podcast, not Trump dominating the media, not because your guys' message wasn't the best. It's the candidate. She just wasn't good, which is why one of the greatest political minds that currently is out there continuing to educate people about politics, Mark Halperin, here's what he had to say on the Chris Cuomo project about Kamala Harris. Check this out.
When Joe Biden called her and said, I'm not going to run, maybe, she should have said, you know what, I'm not going to run either, because I can evaluate my capacity to beat Donald Trump in 100 days, and I'm not the right person. There may not be someone better, but I know it's not me.
Why? Why should she have thought that?
Well, not because she's a woman, and not because she's not white, and not because she shouldn't be ambitious, because she should know herself as well as I do in terms of knowing her. And I don't know her all that well. I've known her a long time. She's not good at making difficult choices under pressure. That is the job description of president and presidential candidate. And she should have said, this is going to require a lot of very difficult decisions about how to talk about the Biden-Harris record. The biggest vulnerability Joe Biden had, besides his loss of acuity and his age, was our failed record. Anyone else isn't going to have to defend the Biden-Harris record. Maybe Pete Buttigieg would a little, but not the same way. And she should have said to herself, I think, I'm not good at making difficult choices under pressure. And trying to figure out how to explain why the country should vote for me as part of an administration where they think the country's on the wrong track is going to require making a lot of difficult decisions under pressure. And I shouldn't do it. That's what I think she should have done.
Yeah, and at her age and her experience, if you want to call it that, she should know better, right? And by the way, the Democratic Party, the media, they know better. They allowed Joe Biden to get away with being a dementia patient for the past 4 years. Clearly, he's had a mental decline. Clearly, there's some issues there, and they covered it up. So they deserve the consequences of them doing that, just like Kamala Harris deserves the consequences of her actions. Now, I really appreciate your patience in having to deal with another Kamala Harris story. I mean, I really believe we were done with her. There was no reason to talk about her again, but I guess they felt the need that she had to post this video today, and so I just had to react to it. So at this point, I want to hear your reaction in the comment section below. What did you think about how she looked, how she sounded, and the overall point of her video? Let me know what your thoughts are about that. And also, what do you think about what her campaign manager had to say and the excuses when it came to Joe Rogan, and then her senior advisor stating that doubling down on calling Trump a Nazi was what was required to get certain people to vote for Kamala Harris. Now, on to some more drama. Last night, a CNN panel had a meltdown because Elon Musk could potentially buy MSNBC, and one of the guests on the panel just loses her mind completely about everything. X, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, the whole shebang. It wasn't a great night for her. So if you guys want to check out that video and see me react to it, all you have to do is click on it because it's coming up right now.